Welcome back to Power Play 2020. Maybe the worst year for the global economy, get this, since the Great Depression. That bleak but sobering projection comes from the International Monetary Fund. The IMF also predicts Canada's economy at large is set to shrink by 6.2%. These are stunning numbers just this year alone. So can Canada pull the economy out of its current COVID coma? And what will the government do to put it on a path of economic recovery? Let's find out. Joining us now is Treasury Board President Jean-Yves Duclos. He is in Montreal. I hope you and your family are well, sir. Do your own government's predictions sync up with this IMF prediction of a fall by more than 6% this year?
Well, hello, Evan, and hello to everyone listening. And you're correct. We are in a very severe situation. However, we don't have the final numbers yet, but we feel very much the pain that millions of Canadians are suffering, lots of jobs being lost, 6 million Canadians having asked for the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. So the situation is very severe, and we're very mindful of it. What we're going to do and what we're doing now at a very high speed is to prevent a recession from becoming a depression like the one in the 1930s.
Yeah, but it could be a depression is 2 quarters of negative growth or more. Is your government prepared for not just a recession, but for a depression? Is that part of your plan, or is that part of your expectation?
Our plan is not to go into a depression. We know we're going to face a very severe hit. We are facing a very severe hit on the economy. So there will be a negative growth rate, possibly a recession, which is 6 months, but we are certainly going to be in a dire situation for a few weeks from now. And therefore, we're doing everything that we need, including the wage subsidies, the direct payments to Canadians, to make sure that this recession is as short as possible so that we can emerge from it as quickly as possible as well.
Yeah, that will depend on a lot of factors, as you and I both know, business survivability rates when we get a vaccine. But the Prime Minister said today the government is already collaborating with the provinces on a plan or some plans to reopen the economy. Can you give us an insight? What do those plans look like and how fast that could happen?
Well, what we hear from provinces and territories, because it's obviously going to be in collaboration with them, is that the plan to bring back the economy into a growth rate. Now, that plan will probably have to be by sector, by province, depending on the local circumstances of provinces, but also the particular circumstances of different industries. So we know that it's going to be most likely the way forward. We're not yet there in knowing what the plan will have to be, because as you also said, we're still in the middle of addressing a health crisis.
Minister, let me just move to long-term care, because I know the Prime Minister today said he's going to move to support the provinces. It is provincial territorial jurisdiction. But I got to ask you about the federal responsibility. Public health is a federal responsibility. The Seniors Minister, Deb Schultz, was on this program yesterday insisting there was no playbook for a pandemic for long-term health care. She's thought there was no pandemic playbook for COVID-19. Of course there wasn't. We've just named COVID-19 in the last couple of months. But there was this, the 2006 playbook that has a whole chapter, page 29, on protecting long-term care facilities. She insists it didn't seem to apply to this pandemic, but it seems, I've read it, and it does. Was this plan ignored for long-term care facilities or not?
The answer is no. Seniors, of course, have built this country, and the absolute priority of this government and all provincial governments must be to protect them. This being said, as you also mentioned, provincial jurisdiction is of course most important over the management of long-term health facilities, long-term care facilities. That, however, doesn't say that the federal government doesn't have a responsibility to do what it thinks is the right thing to do with taking care of seniors. And that's why we're doing it both respectfully with provinces and territories, but very forcefully also when it comes to providing guidelines that we announced just a few days ago to how to manage those facilities, providing also an offer to help, to increase and improve the working conditions of these essential workers that look after our seniors every day. So we're doing things in both a respectful and a forceful manner.
Although, to be candid, it's too late for many, many people who have died because these rules weren't in place. But there are new rules for returning travelers coming to Canada. They need to now present a credible quarantine plan, according to the Prime Minister. What is a credible plan? Who's going to decide that? And if they don't have one, they go to a hotel Is the government covering those costs?
Well, for three things. First, the quarantine rule has been clear and applied for already a few weeks now. Second, that rule is now reinforced by, as you said, demonstrating to the security agents, the border security agents, that the people coming back to Canada are able to follow that plan. And third, if they don't have the ability to do that, then they are going to put in a hotel or other facility that's looked after and paid for by the federal government.
Okay, but the government will pay for the hotels then?
The government will pay for what the facilities need to be, that these people will need to be using, and that if the facility has to be a hotel, then the federal government will have to pay for that.
Minister, a lot of talk and criticism of the flight Mr. Shearer and his family and the Minister of Employment, Carla Coltro, and Elizabeth May took to get back here for the emergency sitting on Saturday. That flight does not ensure social distancing of 6 feet. Who approved that flight, and why was that flight given to Mr. Shearer and his family if it violated the social physical distancing rules?
Well, I cannot speak about the specific details of the arrangements. I think those details are quite well known by now. They've been published in all sorts of media. What I know, however, what I can tell is that the people on the flight did what they could to protect themselves from each other. Now, I cannot talk about exactly how that happened because I wasn't on the flight, but we were given assurances that everyone on the flight knew what the risk was and knew what the expectations were.
Right. Minister, so if more MPs want to come back, is your government going to send chartered planes again, even if it violates physical distance? Will you guys repeat that same charter experience?
No, as you know, we're trying to work with a different system, a virtual system, which would protect both the health of the members of parliament, but importantly, the health of all of those people, the maintenance people that need to be here if we are here as well as providing all members of parliament across the whole country the opportunity to participate in those proceedings.
All right, I got to leave it there. Mr. Duclos, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you for joining us.